Well, hello there, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're safe and well. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to true your BC. So let's roll those titles, shall we? I guess you're probably wondering what truing a BC is. Well, it's a method of calculating the ballistic coefficient of the pellet that more closely matches the performance that you're actually experiencing from your pellet. So when you use it in your ballistic calculator, you get more accurate results. You may be used to just using the ballistic coefficient that's published by the manufacturer. But that's is not a figure that is a one fit for everyone. So I was going to work out the ballistic coefficient for pellets from my hunting rifles before I go out on my next hunting trip. So I thought I might as well grab the camera and record the whole thing and just demonstrate what the process is. So that's what I did. So let's get going, shall we? So I'm out in the garden range then. I'm back at 50 yards from my backstop. I'll show you the image of the rangefinder so you can see that. And what we're out to do is to do some shooting admin, if you like. I'm going to be working out what the ballistic coefficient is of the setup for two of my rifles, the BRK Ghost, which has still got the 2.2 barrel, and my Daystate Wolverine, both guns of which I'm going to be using for hunting. So I just want to make sure that I've got the ballistic calculators on the scopes worked out correctly. So I'll be testing two pellets with the 2.2, or not testing, working out the BC for two pellets. If you saw my 2.2 testing video recently, you know, I'm using the exact jumbo Diablos 15.89, and I've also got the Crossman Premier Ultra Magnums at 14.3 grain. So obviously I would expect the pellet drop at 50 yards to be different on these two pellets, and I will use that to do the calculations. I'll be using my FX Chrono to work out the muzzle velocities, and this also records the environmentals like the pressure, the temperature and the humidity as well, so that's useful for working out the BC if you need that information. So I'm going to start with the Ghost then, and we'll see how we get on with that. Now what I'm aiming to do on the target is basically get a group of pellets as close as possible, either in a group or in a horizontal line, so I can get sort of like an average measurement of the pellet drop at 50 yards. So I'm going to be recording through the scope as well, so you'll see what I see through the scope. So we'll put a few shots down using the single shot loader. We're starting with the jumbos and see how we get on. The chronograph's all set up, so we'll see what we can do. Let's get there. Get my bag all sorted. There's a bit of a wind today, it's quite breezy, so I'd expect the pellets to drift off a little bit. They're all quite close vertically, so put another one down. I think that should do it actually. Try another one, just see if that one's going to go down as low as that one. And that one's even lower. Looks like we need to put a few more then. One more for luck. Yeah, that'll be 10. That'll be 10 shots. Okay. Shut off the video on the camera. So it looks like we can work with that. So what I need to do now is I need to create a new profile on the FX Chrono, because you can't just use the same profile and change the pellet weight. You've got to have a unique profile for the rifle and the pellet you're using. So I'm going to do that now. We'll come back and then we'll try the Crossman pellets. Right, we're all ready to go with the Crossman pellets then. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to change the target. I'm hoping that these won't drop as much. I'll try and keep the pellets over to the left hand side of the target as much as I can. So see what difference these make. They're both in line at the moment, it looks like. Oh, that one dropped a lot. That's 6. Might as well do 10 of these as well. That's 10. Right. Well, that worked out okay. They all stayed to their side of the targets. So that's the ghost sorted then. All we need to do is switch rifles over. I'll put a new target down the bottom there, and we'll have a go with the Wolverine. Same process really. Right, switch rifles over, reset the chronograph for this rifle and these pellets. Going to be using Rangemaster Sovereigns, which are made in the JSB factory, and they're basically the same as the JSB exacts, but I think quality might seem to be a little bit better. These are made for Daystate, so might as well use them in my Daystate rifle. So here we go, using the single shot loader again. We'll put 10 shots down as we did before, see what sort of group we get, and I'll be recording through the scope again. So see how we get on, shall we? Ooh, right next to each other. Bit of a tighter group than the Ghost 2.2, 2.2. Oh, it's gone through last pellet hole. I'll move to the side a little bit because I don't really want them all going through the same hole, and I need to be able to measure the individual pellets. So that's 7. We'll do 10 with these as well. That's 10. So there we go, got pretty good results there. Switch this off. So now it's just a question of getting a ruler out, measuring all the pellets, and finding what the average drop is. So that's what we're going to do next. This is the target from the Ghost with the 2.2 barrel at 50 yards. Then on the left, the Crossman Magnum pellets, on the right, the JSB jumbos. Now what I've done, I've discounted these 2 low shots because they're just anomalies. So I've taken the distance from the centre of the pellet hole up to the centre of the line, added them all together, divided by the number of pellets. And on the Crossman pellets here, you can see we get an average drop of 94 millimeters. I've drawn that line out to show where it fits in that group, and you can see that the pellets are fairly evenly spaced either side of that line. I've done the same thing on the right hand side of the target with the JSB pellets. You might think, you know, why did I include this hole here? Well, I did do the calculation without this pellet mark, and it only, on the average, it only made a difference of 1 millimeter. The average came out at 78, so I decided to leave that one in. And again, you can see that the line, the average point of impact is evenly spaced in the centre of that group. So that's the Ghost then. Let's have a look at the Wolverine. Much closer grouping then, with 8.44 pellets through the Wolverine at 50 yards. Actually quite a good group. I wasn't aiming at the same point on the line, which is why you see these move across, because I was starting to get a hole here and I wanted to be able to measure the individual pellets, so I moved my aim along. But you know, those 4 pellets would have been on top of that, so that would have been quite a good group. Again, you can see here the average comes out, you know, no wild pellets here at all. They all, you know, they're all pretty consistent. The average marks 65 millimeter point of impact drop, and again that moves, you know, that line passes quite neatly through the center of that cluster of pellets. So I think we've got quite good results for point of impact drop at 50 yards for both rifles. So now I'm going to show you, now we'll move on to what we do with this information. I did a previous video on specifically about how to correctly set up the ballistic calculator in a digital day-night scope. And in that video, I used a little bit of software that was designed to actually calculate the ballistic coefficient. You just input all the data from you know, what we've done outside, and it works out the ballistic coefficient for you. And then you can take that figure and put it into your ballistic calculator. What we're going to do here is I'm going to use a different method, and this method is called truing the BC. So to do this, we go straight into our ballistic calculator. So I'll be using that software program Mero, which is, say, very similar to Airgun, which you may have heard of, and I'll show you how you use that method in that on screen. Here we are inside the screen of Mero ballistic calculator, and I'm going to true the BC first for the results for the Wolverine, Daystate Wolverine rifle with 177 pellets when we're using the Rangemaster Sovereigns. So we've got our muzzle velocity set up there from the FX Chrono. We were zeroed at 35 yards. I've worked out the sight height using the tinfoil test, which is the correct method for working out the sight height. If you want to know how to do the tinfoil test, then I've got the video on the correct way to set up ballistic calculator. It shows you how to do it there. This gives a more accurate result than just using measuring the sight height from the objective lens, which is not the correct way to do it. We've got our range 50 yards we were shooting at, and you can see here this is the ballistic coefficient as specified by the manufacturer, 0.019. Now if we go on to our range table, you can see down at 50 yards this is predicting a point of impact of minus 56 millimeters. And as a reminder, we found that our average point of impact was 65 millimeters. So in order to find the true ballistic coefficient up here, we need to make an adjustment so that this reads 65 millimeters rather than 56. And this is where truing the BC comes in. Now we've got these little plus or minus buttons, so let's have a look and see what they do. If I hit the plus button, it will go up to 2.9, and that reduces the point of impact. If we come back down to 90, 50, that increases the point of impact, but that's a bit too severe. So what we've got to do is we've got to come down from 0.019 for a smaller figure and increase that millimeter figure there to 65. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first off put an 8 in there and see how that changes things. Now you can see we've increased up to minus 58, so we still need to come down some more. So I'm going to come down to 170, and we're getting close. We're at minus 60 now, still another 5 millimeters to go. So let's go down to 0.016. We're at 62, we're getting close. Try a 5. And we're at 64, so we're 1 millimeter away. So if I go down to 4, now we're at 67, we're too far. So let's put a 5 in there. We go back up again. And we're 166. We're at minus 66. Let's try a 6 there. There we go. I put a 6 in there, and we're now at minus 65 millimeters. So we've trued our ballistic coefficient to make this figure show what we saw in practice. So that's how you true the BC. So this is the ballistic coefficient now we want to record, 0.0146, and that's the one we want to use in our ballistic calculators in our scope, or say in this calculator when you're sort of like creating a range card, because this is the ballistic coefficient that we found in practice. So what I'm going to do now is save that setup, and what we'll do is, what I want to do quickly is we'll go into the display for the reticle details, and what I'm going to do is take a note of these ranges so that I can cross-check the recommended aim point that the scope is calculating compared to what Mero's saying it should be. So for example, if we shoot a target at 46 yards, the suggested aim point by the ballistic calculator in the scope should be 1 mil dot if everything is working correctly. So we're going to go and check that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do exactly the same thing for the Wolverine for the two different pellets there, and work out the ballistic coefficient, and then we'll look at putting this data into the ballistic calculator in the scopes. So here we are in the menu for the One Leaf Commander NV500 Eagle, which I've got fitted on my Ghost. And we're starting with ballistic group A. You see here we've got different spaces to set up different pellets. So we're going to use the group A for the JSB jumbos. And going down then, I put in the ballistic coefficient that we found, the actual one, the ballistic model G1, the bullet weight, the initial muzzle velocity as reported by the chrono, zero range, the sight height in inches, and then we go down, and then I've put the environmental factors in. So that's the jumbos, and what I need to do now is set up the crossmen. So I'm going to go into group B, and I'm going to set up the information for that. So I will be back shortly. So here are the settings for ballistic group B, which are the Crossman Magnum pellets, the 14.3. So you can see the different weight there, and I've put in all the settings that I measured for that. Just a quick one here on the sight height, just to reinforce what I say about the correct method of measuring the sight height. You'll see even here, if I click on here, it shows you here it's the distance between the center of the scope optic and the center of the barrel, but measured at the muzzle, not at the objective lens. There's going to be a difference there because of the angle, so that's the correct place to measure it, and the only way to measure that at that place is to do the tin foil test. So there you go. I think you'll also find as well that if you look in the definitions of your ballistic calculator software, it'll also tell you both in Mero and in Airgun that you measure the sight height at the muzzle. So the next thing to do then is we're going to go out and check to see if the recommended aim points now for the ballistic calculator is going to be in the right place from the information that we've put in. Right, we're back out in the garden, around by the side of the kitchen then, so we can get our 50 metres, not 50 metres, 50 yards. And I've got my rabbit head target up at the end there. So what we're going to do now we've done all our calculations and adjustments and filled the data into the ballistic calculator, we need to check whether the suggested aim point from the ballistic calculator in the scope is actually going to be correct. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 5 pellets down the range and just see where our pellets are landing. So always helps if you turn the scope on, doesn't it? Okay, so I'm going to go down to 0 so I can to 1 times so I can laze the target. Oh. Right, okay, so laze the target. Oh. Set to record. The target's lazing at 51 yards, which is near enough. As you remember, there's always a plus or minus 1 yard error on laser range finders. So load up. I'm going to shoot at 16 times magnification. Oh, looks like that's spot on. Last shot. Oh, there we go. All hit the mark, all in the kill zone. All where the ballistic calculator is suggesting. So we can assume from that that for this particular pellet in this rifle, we've got a pretty usable real world ballistic coefficient. Well, there you go then, that's it for this video. This wasn't the video that I was planning to release. I've been working on something else, but still got a bit of work to do on that, and I had to do this exercise for my own purposes, so I thought, oh, might as well record it. Somebody might find it useful. I mean, if you do use ballistic calculators and you're wondering why the results you get are not as accurate as you see out on the range, it's probably because you're using the factory BC and you're not using the true BC that you know, your pellets are actually demonstrating in the real world. So so I'm sure if you do muck around with ballistic calculators, hopefully you'll find that useful. I didn't bother showing you the doing the same exercise on the Ghost after I did the Wolverine, because it's very much the same, but I did go through the same process with the Ghost with both of the pellets, the jumbos and the crossmans, and so I'm all set up now for out for shooting some rabbits. So anyway, that's all I've got for you on this one. Hopefully see you again next time, and until then, bye for now.